Welcome to the Let's Talk About Love, Sex, and Infidelity podcast with your host, Todd Krieger. Todd has over 35 years of experience working with thousands of couples as a licensed therapist in his private practice. Todd shares his insights on this show. It's never too early to divorce-proof your marriage or too late to heal yourselves and have the relationship you truly want.
Hi, everybody. This is Todd Krieger. I help couples and individuals heal in their relationships, even after a crisis such as infidelity. And I work with people with trauma. I use different body, mind techniques so that we get deeper into what's really going on, into the core issues. Today, I want to talk to you about a couple, Rick and Diane, that I've worked with, who came to me just bickering and escalating, and then they'd have this pattern of escalating, and then they would just disconnect because it was so unrewarding to talk about these emotional issues because it never got them anywhere. I'm going to talk to you about something I have called the stop technique and how Rick and Diane used the stop technique to transform the way they relate and ultimately their relationship. I want to tell you now, before I tell you about Rick and Diane, that I would recommend that you click on the link below where it says 3 ways to reconnect without talking. It's a guide that stops arguments, and that shows you 3 simple, powerful tools to reconnect with your partner without needing to talk more, solve more, or explain more. That's not where the answers lie. And so this document will help you with that. Let me tell you about Rick and Diane. So Rick and Diane were married for about 25 years. And their relationship started out quite wonderful, well-connected. And it happens a lot for many of the couples I see. But they had some kids, 3. They were busy. And their relationship started to disconnect. And then Diane was the one who came up to Rick and started to complain about, hey, you know what? This isn't working for me. You're working too much. I don't feel close to you. I definitely don't want to have sex with you. To which Rick would then just react very defensively and say, I don't understand. Look what I do. Look how much I provide. I don't see why you don't understand. I'm doing the best I can. And a lot of couples come and see me and they feel like there's no way out. Like, I can't do any more. And the other partner may say, I can't accept the way it is. And it seems like there's no way out. But as I've been talking to couples for decades, I tell them that it's really that the answers aren't impossible to attain. This is not an impossible dream to have a relationship where you can connect more deeply and to have a more fulfilling relationship and still have a good career and be busy with all the things that you need to do. And so the real issue with Rick and Diane was that they were just in reactive modes. That's it. They were in reactive modes. They didn't stop long enough to take a look at what was really going on with them. So without getting into all the details of what the stop technique is all about, I just want to tell you that Rick and Diane, they learned that the real issue is the real catch, I should say, is to slow down together, to slow down long enough to notice what's going on. Because truthfully, what the biggest mistake that couples make is that when they are angry at the other person, they're so focused on what the other person's doing to them is that they miss what's going on inside of them. And what's going on inside of them might have to do with a combination of what's going on between them now, what happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, who knows? We're more complex than we think. And there's much more going on than we think. So, for example, if I'm judging my partner as they would each judge each other, it's more about the person doing the judging than the person who's being judged. So we all need to recognize that. So what happened? And it was a process. It wasn't a slow process, but it wasn't an immediate event either. It was a process that didn't take that long. They started to become aware that the answer was to slow down and stop and to do the steps of the stop technique and to be aware of what was going on with them and to slow down and to get a little bit more, I'll say, in control of themselves, but doesn't mean try to control their feelings. It's just to be able to create the space inside of them so that they could express themselves in such a way that the other person can listen. And so what this is all about is twofold. One is communicating with your partner more clearly in a way that they could listen, but also for you to be curious enough about yourself and to learn about you. So Rick and Diane started to practice this technique, and I would give them assignments to do the stop technique, and they started to find that within minutes a day, that they could change the feeling they had with each other. It didn't mean he had to work significantly less, or she had to lower her expectations, or anything like that. None of that needed to happen. They just needed to do the stop technique and practice connecting more deeply. So Rick and Diane, I could say to this day, are having an amazing relationship. And truthfully, they are more motivated to take more time now to be with each other. And so people find ways to do that when the feeling is good. And to have a good feeling between you takes a lot less time and maybe more awareness, but less time than people oftentimes think. So again, this is something just about every couple can do and learn. And I love when I have the opportunity to teach that to my clients. It makes such a big difference. So again, click on the link that says 3 ways to reconnect without talking. Again, it's a guide that stops arguments and shows you these 3 simple, powerful ways to reconnect with your partner without needing to talk more, solve more, or explain more. It really is about being more connected to yourself and your partner. So thanks for listening. This is Todd Krieger, making the world safe for love.
That's it for today's episode of Let's Talk About Love, Sex, and Infidelity podcast with your host, Todd Krieger. For free resources and materials, head over to toddkrieger.com. Loved this episode? Head over to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and leave a review. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you.